Hey, Justin with Hindsight. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the port work that I'm going to do. I'm going to send out the GT40 upper and lower and the spacer and the throttle body to have them all some pretty extensive port work done on. Everything's going to be lined up, get a little bit as much flow as I can out of the stock intake because I want to run that because I want to run that. I want to keep it looking like a Lightning. The 11R 205 heads that are on the new engine, the intake port is quite a bit bigger than the stock GT40 heads are. So the inlet from the intake port or the outlet from the intake port are not big enough to go on there. And I will show you what I have found and what my plan is. So there is the stock intake, lower intake. Here's a stock gasket. So if we throw this up here, you can see, if I get this aimed right, you can see that that is pretty much dead on, right? But if you take the stock one with the not stock one, and if we line these up, you can see there's a fair amount of difference. And you put them on here, and you can really see the difference. So it's quite a bit, right? So I have played with these are the gaskets that'll match the 205 head, and they're thin, kind of a stock thickness, right? So when I put these on the head, and I'll show you that, when they are on the head, they line up the right size, but the intake's going in, right? So, I mean, the intake on that's quite a bit bigger. And then when I've had these gaskets sitting on the head and I match them up to the head and then transfer them to the intake, they come out about right here. Which, if I do that, then this mark that's right there is where that ends up. There's that mark right there. And that's how that gasket will sit. Well, there's not enough meat here, right? That's not going to fly. So I got some thicker gaskets. I mean, they're pretty thin. So I got some thicker gaskets. Same port opening size. Same size there. But now I will put these on the engine and they will sit a little bit more like that, which will move that edge that way away from this edge right here. So it'll give it something to bite to. So that's what I'm going to do now. All right. So I have lined up the intake gaskets on here, taped them, because on this engine, I don't know, everybody's results may vary. If you just throw them on here and let them hang, they go down too far. So I've lined up the top. I tried to get it as low as I could, trying to keep as much meat as I could on top, and then taped them there. And I put double-sided sticky tape on, and that's just interior window plastic film. If you live in a cold climate and you have crappy windows, you put that stuff on, and I had some left over from last year. But anyway, I will do that, and then I will put the intake on here and get it situated, and then show you that. Okay, here you go. So the double-sided sticky tape holds it on there, and you release the tape. Double-sided hold it there. So that is what the new port opening ought to be. So then we'll take a scribe and run it around here on all these. Get an edge on the die cam so you can see it. Pull that off of there. And there you go. So now we've got a little bit more here. So there, can you see? There's the original. Not zooming right. Light. At any rate, there's the original. And putting the thicker gasket on has moved it up to here. So at least now there's a little bit more. So I will probably, my plan is to redo this, move this line up just a touch more, just to make sure that there's enough sealing surface on there not to have any vacuum leaks of any kind. I'll leave that there, clean some of these edges up a little bit. But at any rate, that is the plan. So when it ends up getting back, it won't look quite as bad as this, because that baby's seen better days. She's pretty dirty. But I will run, I've got another intake set. That one's in really good shape. I will run that one because I'm going to send that off to port. I'm going to send the lower, the other upper I've got, the spacer that gets rid of the EGR stuff, and then a AccuFab throttle body that they're going to open up and make everything flow. But it's going to take a little while. Chances are I'm planning on the fact that it's not going to be back in time for me to be starting and running this engine. So I'm going to run that setup right there, and it will probably go to the dyno with that setup. So then at least we can compare what it is for a stock intake, which has been made several comments that that's going to choke the engine down, which yes, I believe it will. But we're going to see what kind of a difference it makes putting on a ported intake. And then if it's enough, or it's, gives me the numbers that I want, which I'm not really concerned about the numbers. I'm more about the play. But if it's going to work, we'll leave it on. If not, I'll get a different intake and we'll start over and do something else. More to come.